Welcome to the Jaybe Show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this Sunday afternoon. The Jaybe Show is live on Revolutionary Blackout every Sundays at 1 p.m. And if you want to see me again on Revolutionary Blackout Network, you can see me on Thursdays with the Sabby and Jaybe Show with my co-host, Sabby Sabs, with me as well. If you guys would like to, you guys can also go to my channel, the Jaybe Font channel, if you guys would like to. That's linked in the description down below. I also have my own channel there where I discuss very similar topics, but from my own perspective on the channel. So thank you very much for that. If you guys have not already, you guys can go ahead and give a like to the stream. This actually pushes us out into the algorithm so that we can inform as well as encourage and activate more people. So thank you so very much for that as well. And if you guys have not, also make sure to like and to share and subscribe as well. For these topics are really important for us to really get into. If you guys would like to, you guys can also go to our mailing list at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. This gives you email notifications whenever we go live or upload any clips. So you guys have that as well. And if you guys have any stories you would like to submit, any questions that you may have, or just want to reach out to us, you guys can reach out at revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. That's the way to get in touch with us. So without further ado, just want to say a blanket hello to everybody that's in the audience that's watching on YouTube, Twitter, Rockfin, and Rumble. Good to see all of you here. Just making sure that Rumble is working. Yes, we are live on Rumble. I am so glad. Okay, now with that being said, hello to all of you who are watching, and I will get to you all in a little bit. But as whenever I have a guest, I just want to be very respectful of their time because they took their time out to come on to explain what, the topic at hand. But what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking with Kim Ives. He is a journalist as well as a filmmaker, and I just am very privileged to have him on so that we can discuss what's going on in Haiti, to be honest with you, because this is a subject that a lot of people really aren't that knowledgeable of. And then on top of it, it doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. So with that being said, we're going to be talking about Kim Ives in a second. We're also going to be talking about what happened over the weekend on Friday. That is the blue screen of death. What happened to thousands and thousands of businesses on Friday? So we're going to get into that. And then also an 8-year-old boy's murder was covered up. We're going to be getting into that as well. That is going to be a very important topic. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Kim Ives on the stage. Good to see you and nice to have you with us.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much. So glad to be with your network, which is I've admired for a long time.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Mr. Ives, one of the things that I wanted to get into first was if you can give us the 30,000-foot explanation of why Haiti is being overrun by gangs, and I put gangs in air quotes because I can tell you why I put it in air quotes in a second, but why is it that they say it's overrun by gangs as described by Western governments like the U.S. State Department?
Right. Well, basically, any person who is from the proletariat or the lumpen proletariat in Haiti who has a weapon in his hand is a gang member in the eyes of the imperialist media. For them, the armed people, the armed populace is a huge threat. This is their nightmare. This is the biggest danger they can imagine. So the first step that they have, and this is true in any war, is to lie about it, is to create it, make it a monster, make them criminals, make them scary, make them bad guys, so we can go and crush them. Essentially,
but that kind of sounds to me like how we're treated, those of us of a certain melanin complexion
there you
in the
go.
United States, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, the melanin challenge, like myself, are, they're good to go. But, you guys get immediately targeted from birth. So, but in Haiti, it's compounded by the fact that over the past 40, 50 years, Haiti has undergone neoliberal reforms, which basically meant that the old agricultural economy that Haiti had uh, for most of the century was destroyed because the U.S. wanted two things. They wanted cheap labor, and they wanted a market for their produce, for their agricultural products. And what they began doing in the 1980s was to dump food on Haiti, primarily rice, wheat, etc., through USAID, what they call PL 480, Public Law 480, Title II, which was free food. And they would dump it on the countries. And particularly rice, Haiti used to export rice. Haiti, at the center of the mouth of Haiti, is the Artibonite Valley, a beautiful emerald green valley of rice paddies in the 1980s. Today it's brown, shriveled, dried up. And that's because Bill Clinton and the Arkansas rice farmers, with combines mile wide, started to dump cheap Arkansas rice on peasants who were hoeing their plot. And, a hoe can't compete against the mile wide combine. And so all these peasants were destroyed, and they ended up having to flee to the city. And that is how Port-au-Prince, when I made the first film I made there, Bitter Cane, recently showed at the Brooklyn Academy of Music here in New York, at the BAM Theaters, won a second prize at Cannes in 1983. But back then, Port-au-Prince was a city of 500,000 people. Today it's 3 million. And most of these are families and the descendants, the children of families who were destroyed by that neoliberal reform. And the second thing that they needed was cheap labor. Haiti has, for really decades, had the cheapest labor in the Western Hemisphere. And this is how they built this assembly industry sector in the country, where people work for $5 a day, not an hour, $5 a day, building our clothing, electronics, anything that can be assembled. Now, right now, they've even weaponized this, and there's a law, and we'll maybe come back to this, which was passed under Trump, total bipartisan support, called the Global Fragility Act. And essentially what this says is two things. They make a bilateral agreement with a country. They can put a U.S. military base in the country, and then they put the country on a lifeline of the same PL 480 free, cheap food. And this is exactly now what they're trying to cement into place, because Haiti is rising up, is keeping those people in the factories. Don't send them back to the farms. No, keep them in the factories. We got them by the belly. We're going to give them our food, and they're going to work for $5 a day. And this is essential because we're going to war with China. We need to have somebody in this hemisphere close by, 600 miles southeast of Florida, who can make our cheap products again. And so this is strategically very important for the U.S. So essentially, just to finish the idea, James, is that we've seen an explosion of the cities of Port-au-Prince, and these destroyed peasants, or the peasants whose economy has been destroyed, have ended up, and they've become this giant proletariat, or in the case of Haiti, mostly these days, lumpen proletariat, that is proletarians without a job, and many of them have to turn to crime. Yes, and there have been criminal gangs that have emerged in Haiti, as you have in any lumpen proletariat. But many of what they call gangs are in fact anti-gang. They are vigilante groups. They're fighting criminality. They're trying to keep crime out of their neighborhoods. And those are the ones who are targeted. Why? Because they're coming with a revolutionary program, which is we need to overthrow the system. We need to change it. And they don't put it in any Marxist terms that we know of, that we're familiar with, I should say. But they just say, we want everything for everybody. It's really simple, really straight up. We want roads, hospitals, schools, sanitation, electricity, internet, all the basics of life, which we don't have now because they are living in lakes of sewage with no schools, with no future, nothing, no food often. And this is what the fight is. They are fighting for survival, and they are armed, and they mean business, and they're not afraid to die. Jimmy Cherizier, who is really the leader of this coalition of armed groups in Haiti, he often says that. He said, we're dead already. We're not afraid to die. And this is what we see in Hamas. This is what we see in Gaza. This is what we see in all the countries of the third world, is these people have nothing to lose but their chains.
Okay, so first of all, it is quite interesting how the proletariat always reaches the same conclusion when we are exploited, right? Because this sounds like, I want to get to one part, but I'll get back to this in a second. But it sounds like their rise against crime as well as against what the crimes of the state is doing is the same response that the Young Lords, the Young Patriots, and the Black Panthers also did in the 1960s. That's what it looks like that they're doing there. And maybe I'm overstepping a little bit, but this feels like a neo-chattel slavery that's happening within Haiti, because they want that continued, because we got to remember that people are a resource too. People are a natural resource. So therefore they want those workers in order to be able to make their cheap products and services.
Variable capital. Yep.
Yeah. I wanted to share this just to get your reaction to it. This is out of Haiti as well. Wakan George says Haitian-led solutions lead to food security that ensures independence, which protects Haiti's sovereignty rights from the canal. Brought to you by Haitian farmers. Let's just take a look at this video. It's only about 40 seconds.
Yeah, là, on va nous dire là, combien il te vend avant canal là? Il te vend $25. Mais qu'on y a combien il qu'on y a? Combien il vend qu'on y a? Ah, de 10 à 200 000? Wow, 10 à 200 000. Quel est le livre belle comme ça? Ah, 10 à c'est bon. Okay.
So as you can see is that, when Haitian people actually have their autonomy, on a national scale, then they benefit much more better versus having the hand of the West dictating what it should and shouldn't do. Just wanted to get your reaction to that video there.
That's exactly it. This is in response to a thing called the canal in Wanamanthe, which was built off of the Massacre River. There's a plain up there, very fertile, called the Maribaru Plain, which was practically unused because they didn't have water to irrigate it. And so the Massacre River, named for a massacre in colonial times, but was also the site of a massacre in 1937 carried out by the dictator Rafael Trujillo against Haitian immigrants into the Dominican Republic. But the Massacre River forms the border between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And the Dominicans have 11 minimum canals irrigating their land off of that. And the Haitians, it was started under Jovenel Moïse, who was assassinated 2 months later, maybe in part because of that canal. And essentially the farmers of the Mariburu Plain got themselves together and they built it themselves without the state carrying it out. So this is the autonomous organization of the people who are carrying out these changes and building the Haiti they want. And it's not the USAID, Catholic Charities, CARE, all the NGO edifice, mafia that come in and direct it. It's the Haitian people themselves. It's the grassroots. And this is the same thing that's happening in Port-au-Prince with the uprising, or that they're calling gangs, because it is autonomous. Because we have to think the model for revolutionaries, really for a century, since the Russian Revolution, is kind of that you have a revolutionary intelligentsia, right? The people who went to college and read Marx, Lenin, Mao, whatever, and then the masses who need their leadership. And they come and they provide a leadership for the revolution. And this has really been the model up until now. But what we see happening in Haiti today, and this is why, ironically, James, you see a lot of leftists who are against the gangs and fundamentally, objectively supporting the U.S. imperialist project of this proxy force that they're sending in the form of Kenyans, etc. But Haitians are really doing it the way that Jean-Jacques Dessalines did it in 1804, the way that Charlemagne Perrault did it in 1915. And these were not led by a revolutionary intelligentsia vanguard party, which I have no problem with the vanguard party. On the contrary, I've spent my life working in Haitian vanguard parties or attempts at it. But this really came up from the grassroots. Jimmy Cherizier, the leader of this Vivre Ensemble armed group coalition in Port-au-Prince, he was a former cop. He grew up in the gutter. He was born in the streets of Port-au-Prince. His mom was a street vendor who sold barbecue meats on the street. That's how he got his nickname, Barbecue, Jimmy Barbecue. And, they put themselves together without the college-educated intelligentsia to lead them. And the intelligentsia is a little bit, I could say, embarrassed, because there they are in their university halls or their salons in the United States or Canada or Europe, saying, oh, this isn't revolution. This isn't the way it's supposed to go. Well, no. And we have actually a very good piece. I would suggest people go to the Haiti Liberté site, and there's a piece by Gerald Pereira, a very interesting Guyanese revolutionary. I didn't know him until he submitted the article to us, called Haiti's Second Liberation, or the Second Liberation of Haiti. I don't quite recall the title right now. If you go down a little bit to the This Week in Haiti, click on This Week in Haiti and you'll see it. Or you can just scroll down. It's like the third or second line. If you go down a little bit, you'll see it. But that piece, next one right there. Fighting for Haiti's Second Liberation. This is very good, and he really points to it, and he calls it out. We here at Haiti Liberté have been sort of talking about this for quite a while and taken quite a bit of blowback for it, because, all the sort of posturing fake revolutionaries, I could say, are very threatened by somebody like Jimmy Cherizier, who really, and this is an interesting quote right there from Frantz Fanon, who really undresses them and shows them really what a real revolutionary does. They take up arms and they change the goddamn situation. And, it's interesting because the lumpen proletariat got a kind of a bad name since Marx and Engels called them the dangerous class, because, in many cases they are desperate people who live from day to day. They will switch allegiance. Whoever's going to pay them is who they'll do their job for. And so they got a sort of a bad reputation. But Mao a lot of his Red Army were from the lumpen proletariat. And he said they're very brave, they're good fighters, but they need good discipline. But it was really Frantz Fanon in the revolution in Algeria against France who saw the importance of the lumpen proletariat, because this process, he said, there are two classes, and traditional Marxists say it's the working class, which yes, in the case of the Russian Revolution it was, but as we know in China it was the peasantry. And Frantz Fanon said there are two classes you cannot neglect: the peasantry, but also the lumpen proletariat. And that piece begins with a quote from Frantz Fanon about that, from Wretched of the Earth, Les Derniers de la Terre. So this is the process we're watching. And to me, James, just not to go on too long, but Haiti is always, and I always say this, is always a vanguard nation. It was the first anti-colonial struggle to survive. I mean, yes, the U.S. had a revolution before, but as Gerald Horne calls it, it was really a counter-revolution to maintain slavery in the United States.
Yeah.
It was just one part of the bourgeoisie taking over from the other, of the British bourgeoisie. But Haiti was self-freed slaves who carried it out. So it was the first genuine revolution in history, was really the touchstone for all the revolutions on the continent. Bolivar got his printing presses and boats and guns and soldiers even from Haiti. And in all the flags of northern South America, you'll see the Haitian flag, the red and blue with a white yellow strip on top. So that is the role it played in the 19th century. In the 20th century, we had Jean-Bertrand Aristide emerge. It was the first country to really foil election engineering. And it was, again, Jean-Bertrand Aristide who inspired Hugo Chavez and Evo Morales and Lula and all the others to carry out the pink tide on the continent. And now we see what that's become. But today, we see this uprising in these megalopolises. You look at Sao Paulo, 19 million people. Mexico City, 19 million people. I mean, this huge lumpen proletariat centers of people surviving in an informal economy, selling, Coca-Cola on the street. This is the reality for so much of this planet today, and especially with AI and mechanization coming on. Even the $5 a day, they don't need that. They'll have a robot do it. So this is really, I think, a wave of the future. And if Haiti can carry it off, and right now that the empire is on its back foot, maybe it can, this could be a model.
Yeah, it's wild. And you spoke about Jimmy Cherizier. He is, for all intents and purposes, would you say that he's more of a revolutionary? Just bucking the phrase that the West would use as a gangster. Would you say that he's more of a revolutionary?
Well, yes, he is. And the thing is, they beat us to the punch on this one, because I say as if we, should be so prescient, but here at Haiti Liberté, and we're the largest Haitian weekly, but we're also the most radical Haitian media, I think. We were sort of drinking the Kool-Aid. We said, Jimmy Cherizier, he's a gang leader, he's a criminal, etc. And then one day, my director here at Haiti Liberté, Bertini Dupont, sat me down and he said, "Tim, I think we got this all wrong. I've been studying and looking at this guy, and I want you to go down and, see if he's real." And so in April 2021, he sent me down to Haiti. I sat for a weekend talking to Jimmy Cherizier. I came back. I said, "Bethany, you were right. This guy's the real deal. He means business, and he's got nothing to lose, and he means it." And we did 2 films with Dan Cohen of Uncaptured Media that you see there. The first is a trilogy. It's a 3-part series called Another Vision. And you'll find that on the Haiti Liberté YouTube channel. Please share that. That's really the grounding presentation of what Jimmy Cherizier and this movement is. The second one we put out in November of 2022 when there was kind of a dress rehearsal where they tried to overthrow Ariel Henry in 2022 in November. That was beaten back. But he finally succeeded in getting Ariel Henry, who was the U.S. puppet, out this February 29th. Ironically, the anniversary of the coup d'etat against Aristide in 2004. So exactly 20 years later, they ousted that guy, Ariel Henry, and he had to leave because of Jimmy Cherizier's coalition. And essentially, Jimmy Cherizier, for the 4 years previously, had been fighting the criminal gangs. It had been his coalition, which were, I could say, the vigilance brigades, the anti-crime coalition, fighting the criminal gangs. But he always had this kind of class vision, and we were even a little doubtful of it. And, said, you really think that's a good idea? But he said, no, we have to, in the end, take in the criminal gangs and convert them, because otherwise they're going to hit us from behind every time. That's what happened in 2002. This is a community pool that he built. This is a priest, a Catholic priest in the area, who's seen that the guy is very interesting, is helping him build schools and do development in their neighborhoods. That's his neighborhood, Lower Delma. That's Jimmy Cherizier there with Father Tom Hagen. So anyway, the point being, let me see, I lost my train of thought. Where was I? I was, there it goes. Anyway, the point being that Jimmy Cherizier brought together the criminal gangs, or previously criminal. He's been trying to kind of reform and tamp down that aspect of them in the past 4 months that this revolution, and I would call it that, has been going on. Yeah. And it's a little bit, I said this on the Democracy Now! Interview back in April, it's a little bit like Mao Zedong with Chiang Kai-shek. To get the Japanese out of China, he had to make a united front with Chiang Kai-shek, who was his biggest enemy, right? And they did drive the Japanese out. In a way, Jimmy Cherizier had to unite with his enemy to, stop the imperialists from coming in and killing them all. And that's, I think, basically, I haven't been in on the meetings, but he's been saying to them, listen, we're all going down when the imperialists come in and invade, so you have all the interest to join with me. So right now, that's the process. That's where we are. It's very touch and go. But he is a revolutionary. This is a genuine popular revolution. There is, it doesn't fit the typical Marxist-Leninist model per se, because there isn't a vanguard party leading it, and either there isn't a Sandinista front or a July 26th movement or something you can point to. But this is autonomously created in the masses, in these groups, and they put themselves together and organize themselves, and they're resisting so far. And we'll see. The battle is about to be joined as these Kenyans right now, as we speak, the Jamaicans are deploying. They're, bringing in a lot of these, proxy blackface troops to do the job for the U.S. And again, the reason for that, James, is they want to put in a puppet president who will be elected, quote unquote, selected in the case the Haitians would call it. And then he would invite the U.S. in under the Global Fragility Act. And that's when the U.S. troops would come in and basically button up the country. But right now they have to use this optics, this phony baloney, Pan-African force to put in the puppet who will do the inviting. Back in 1915, when the U.S. came in, they invaded. Then they put in a puppet who invited them in, and it was too ugly. It was too clear. In the 21st century, we do things with a little more veneer.
Gotcha. You kind of reminded me of I did a class with a group of Midwestern Marx Institute, and one of the things that was taught to me in the basics of Marxism class is that each region has a certain flavor of revolution. So you have the Bolivarian version of a revolution. Then you have the Bolshevik revolution. You have the Chinese revolution. And Haitian revolution has its own flavor, and I liken it to chicken. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go with chicken. But so you have chicken cacciatore, chicken tetrazzini. You have different versions of fried chicken. You also have chicken. You have what's it called? There's different versions, right? But in the essence of it, it's still chicken. Whether it's a chicken that's ground up and made into a burger, or is chicken that is put on skewers, it is still essentially chicken. So it's the same thing with the proletarian revolution. It may look somewhat different, but ultimately the elements are still the same no matter what. And the elements are the people who are at the bottom, who are the majority of the people, rising up against a state or actors who have control of the means of production in the ownership of the government, that are really pushing people into exploitation. So I hope that analogy worked.
Yes. No, a rose is a rose is a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, as Shakespeare would say. But, just not to get too much into the weeds, but the whole thing has been turned on its head. There's a recent piece out by France 24, which is basically the Haitian, the French bourgeoisie's channel, and Time magazine, which is, the U.S. bourgeoisie's magazine of the old days, at least, of the ruling class. So it's kind of like a NATO alliance, if you will. And they just put out a piece essentially saying, the gangs are working for the bourgeoisie and against the people. And, this is as I said in my address to the UN Security Council. People can see that also on the Haiti Liberté YouTube channel. But that was back on December 21st, 2022. I said they tried to take the good guys and the bad guys and put them all in one basket called the gangs. At one point, the bourgeoisie was using the armed groups, certain armed groups, to overthrow Jovenel Moïse. It got very contentious between Jovenel Moïse, who was put in by a sector of the oligarchy, but he was counting on money coming from Petrocaribe of Venezuela, okay? This is where it gets a little confusing and muddy, but it's not that difficult. It's not rocket science. So he was expecting all this money. Unfortunately for Jovenel Moïse, he came in at the same time as Trump. And Trump immediately slapped sanctions on Venezuela, made it impossible for the central banks to send money back and forth. And plus the sanctions on Venezuela was making it more difficult for Venezuela to provide the cheap oil that they had been giving to Haiti, about 60,000 barrels a day. And they had a special fund that they'd given Haiti, in addition, called the Petrocaribe Fund, where they would sell half or 40% of what they sold would end up being kept by Haiti in a fund called the Petrocaribe Fund, which was an alternative to the World Bank and the IMF, and they could make schools or whatever that they wanted with this fund. But instead, it got pilfered, a lot of it, and that all came to a screeching halt when Jovenel Moïse came in. So he started to turn back to that bourgeoisie, which had put him into power, and say, listen, you guys got to ante up because I've made all these promises to the people, 24/7 electricity and, roads. And he was from the peasantry. He was, he did have a populist streak, and he really did want to bring a change to the peasants. And he was very popular actually in the countryside, but in the city he wasn't. And the bourgeoisie turned on him. They were trying to overthrow him, and one of the reasons, or one of the ways they were trying to do that was to arm these gangs to fight him and overthrow him. And a lot of them have come out and said, yeah, we were hired by the so-called opposition to overthrow Jovenel Moïse. So now there ended up being a conflict between Jovenel Moïse and the bourgeoisie. And when the battle finally got finished between the two of them, they killed him. They imported in Colombians, assassinated him, probably with a wink and a nod, if not the full participation of the U.S. So all of this is to say that these gangs had been used by the bourgeoisie, but they have turned against them. And that was always Jimmy Cherizier's message to them. Said, instead of fighting each other, let's turn our guns on the bourgeoisie. And that is what we're seeing in Haiti today.
Yeah. To me, that's like saying that the Black Panther Party was a tool of the government. It's like that.
Well, the comparison to the Panthers and the Young Lords is very apt. And in fact, talking to, Juan Gonzalez at Democracy Now!, who was a Young Lord leader, he immediately gets the whole what's happening in Haiti. And so these were, in fact, revolutionary movements, which were, at the time, this was before you were born, but, they were being demonized or cast as criminal elements, basically hoods,
Yeah, that's crazy. And when it comes to the U.S. government, really it's the U.S. government, Canada, and France that are all really truly involved in this, from what I've observed. And
correct.
It feels like France is basically trying to make sure that they just do not let Haiti go. It's like, for instance, what happened in Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali, where France was essentially kicked out. They want to keep France as a neo-vassal state as much as they possibly can. And it feels like France especially is on more like a razor's edge. They're more nervous now because of the Sahel states that they basically lost. Do you feel like France is now in more of a feel like they're on pins and needles trying to keep a hold of Haiti as much as possible?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've watched this over the course of my life because I was sort of drafted into the struggle as a teenager. But it used to be that the French and the Canadians were sort of the good cops and the U.S. were the bad cops. But it's switched over the course of these 40 years or so to where now they're the bad cops and the U.S. is the good cop, sitting in the back. So they've switched roles. It's interesting, and I'll explain that in this sense. That is, now in a lot of the declarations that you'll see, either Macron or Trudeau or their ambassadors, etc., they're often in also their media, like this France 24 piece that I recently said. You can check online. I've been tweeting about it and stuff. But, it's just horrible. It's really an answer to our piece, to Another Vision, into the 5 films that we put out with Dan Cohen. That's Another Vision, 1, 2, 3, parts 1, 2, 3. The second piece, which is called Special Report on Haiti, was put out on the Redacted channel, Clayton Morris. And then the fifth one, which just came out in May, is called, as you put it up there, Intervention versus Revolution. But if you watch those 5, really the response to them is this France 24 piece. And it's the most rabid, twisted, stupid, upside down presentation. The same way, they're telling us that, sky is pink every day with respect to, Biden and Trump and, just I won't even get into it, but this whole crazy insane world that they're presenting us. It's like the 1950s. There was a period back then when, everything that was said on television was absolutely absurd. After the nuclear explosion, we'll dust off all the nuclear dust and get back to business, that kind of thing. So this is what the French and also the Canadian media come with. The U.S. media does, of course, too. But really the hardline messages really come out of of those two sectors. Whereas back in like 1991, when Aristide was first overthrown, it was the French ambassador who saved Aristide's life, basically. He was going to be killed in that first coup d'etat in 1991, September 30th. But the French ambassador, a guy called Dufour, intervened and basically saved his life. So, these roles, but they all, yes, they're losing their grip. We're watching the worldwide collapse of the empire, which is, of course, not just the U.S. empire, but all its sort of vassal empires, Europe and England as well. And, the Sahels are just, and one last thing I'd like to add about that, it was interesting, this force that they're sending into Haiti was supposed to include, they said at one point, 2,000 troops, 2,000 policemen from Benin. But what we just recently learned was that these 2,000 troops from Benin are not going to be sent to Haiti to reinforce the 1,000 Kenyans they say are going to be sent in. Only 400 are there now. They're instead being sent to confront the Sahel, this Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. So what's happening in Kenya is a total meltdown because the population is rising up. They want William Ruto, the president of Kenya, out because of the austerity policies and taxes that he's putting on the people to pay the IMF for the $46 billion debt that Kenya is saddled with. And to me, the same thing could end up happening when these 2,000 Benin troops, instead of being sent to Haiti, are sent to Sahel. So in a way, Haiti and the Sahel have become allies, have become two poles of the African Revolution, we could say, which are bringing down the countries who are being sent as the firemen to put out the fire.
Yeah, it's wild because now you see that, of course, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger are now, they're basically giving France the boot. France has not been having a good year. And then, of course,
and the U.S. too, actually, right? Yeah, I mean, with the drone bases being largely,
yeah. And then you have, the uprising of the people in Kenya, against Ruto, that is basically saying, no, we do not want this new tax. We actually want you out. Then on top of that, you have the gangs that really it would be the equivalent of the Crips and Bloods having a truce and then coming to become more revolutionary in their tactics. That's basically what it feels like that's going on in Haiti. And and then on top of it, from what I've observed, is that the more kind of liberal in the left parties in France also essentially are ousting one of the top political leaders in France. So now you also have people like Macron that's biting his nails, going, what in the world is going on with this system that I'm trying to maintain? And something tells me that his people who own him, like the billionaires and the oligarchs, are the ones going, look, if you do not get a hold of the Sahel states, and if you do not get a hold of Haiti, and you don't get this country back under our real control, it's curtains for you. That's what it feels like. And it's like you can see empire just crumbling before our very eyes. And for somebody like myself, I'm excited. I'm just like, where the hell is my popcorn? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
No, it's very interesting. Yeah, they've been able to maintain it for not quite a century, but almost. I mean, I guess it's been really a century. We could say after the First World War that the U.S. really began to emerge as the leader in displacing England as the primary empire. But the whole world capitalist system is going down in the face of the BRICS alliance and this new multipolar world we see coming up. And, it's funny, when I got involved back in the 1970s, it was with a group called the Liberation Support Movement. And their basic notion was supporting the liberation struggles in Africa. Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau at that time were the principal ones. South Africa, of course, and what was Rhodesia still, now Zimbabwe. And we were sending material support and putting out material of those struggles. And they said, trying to have a working class uprising here in the United States is not going to be feasible because the working class has been bought off. And in a way, you could see it was kind of the case. You'd have, hard hats going out and beating up the kids protesting against the Vietnam War, down on Wall Street. So they said it's by basically cinching off the super profits that the U.S. and Western Europe get from the third world that we are going to bring about world revolution. And essentially, that's what we've seen. Over the course of my lifetime, we now see the former colonies and neo-colonies in what we call the second world, countries like China and Russia, who have broken free. I mean, Russia was then the Soviet Union, but since 1991, it has gone from being somehow, beaten on to now kicking the ass of the U.S. And so essentially, we are seeing the liberation of the former neo-colonies. And to me, this is accelerating. And to me, what's happening in Haiti today, as well as hopefully Kenya, the Sahel already, we see it happening. This is the leading edge of a world revolution.
Yeah, one of the things I actually wanted to bring out, and then I have a question following this, just to kind of prime myself for this. But this was an interesting article. This actually deals with the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Kwame Nkrumah actually talked about was the definition of neocolonialism. And I just want to pose this before I ask my question. Mm-hmm. And Kwame Nkrumah said, once a territory has become nominally independent, it is no longer possible, as it was in the last century, to reverse the process. Existing colonies may linger on, but no new colonies will be created. In place of colonialism as the main instrument of imperialism, we have today neocolonialism. The essence of neocolonialism is that the state which is subject to it is, in theory, independent and has all the outward trappings of international sovereignty. In reality, its economic system and thus its political policy is directed from the outside. Really, it's economic puppetry. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Yeah. Now, my question is, what, in your view, is the odds of a country like Haiti joining BRICS within the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we have to see how this revolution, which has started, how it ends. I should say that the Global Fragility Act is, in fact, a response to Nkrumah. They are trying to put Haiti back into colonial status with it, because under the Global Fragility Act, which basically is a 10-year bilateral agreement, they essentially recolonize the country. U.S. troops basically take it over, and you are put on an intravenous line of U.S. food aid. So they've got you by the stomach. And since the 1970s, if you go back to listen to Hubert Humphrey once said that food is a weapon, and in many ways our most important weapon. So if they've got you by the belly, they've got you. And even Aristide, even though he's in a way totally sold out now and is part of this new imperialist project, because the whole political class has gone over and is acting under the direction of the State Department, from the Famille Lavalas of Aristide and Petit Dessalines, Moïse Jean Charles, who was supposedly the more progressive rebel from Famille Lavalasse. We used to try to work with him, but he totally betrayed everything. All the way to the right, the PHTK party of Michel Martelly and Claude Joseph. All these parties, the entire Haitian political class has sold out, have revealed themselves, which in a way is good, because the people see clearly that these people were all complete phonies, bluffers, as they're called in Haitian, in Creole. And so there is Cherizier, despite all the calumny and all the garbage and mud and feces that have been thrown on him and at him, and trying to make him into a monster. But he keeps a single message. He keeps repeating it. He does it himself on social media. I mean, it's quite phenomenal that he's been able to withstand this and survive even, and we'll see if he does survive. So all of this to say, and now I lost my train of thought again. Look at that. But anyway, yeah, the long and short of it is the Global Fragility Act is an attempt to put Haiti back into colonial status and to secure it, because China has already, in the country next door, Dominican Republic, made a deal with them under Belt and Road. They've offered Haiti $5 billion, almost $4.7 billion, to overhaul Port-au-Prince, to redo the whole infrastructure of the city, where the sewers, nothing works, electricity, everything's broken. And the U.S. is afraid to lose Haiti, which is one of only 11 countries in the world that recognize China as Taiwan, or Taiwan as China. Because remember, it originally on the UN Security Council, it was Taiwan who held the seat. It wasn't until the deal with Kissinger back in '71 that China, that mainland China, took over. So Haiti is one of the last countries in the world, and only 2 of them have a population of over 1 million. Most of them are little micro states like Tuvalu or St. Kitts or something like that. So now they're very anxious to hang on to Haiti, and that's why Haiti is the premier case, the test case for the Global Fragility Act. They have 5 other countries: Libya, Papua New Guinea, Mozambique, and they say West Africa. I don't know why they call West Africa a country, but countries like Cote d'Ivoire, etc., who they are focusing on because they see this tide from Sahel to Haiti to Kenya, coming, and they're trying to staunch the flow. They're trying to cauterize the hemorrhage.
Wow. Man, that's a lot. Do you have time for just one more question?
Oh yeah, no. Listen, I'm all yours as long as you want. I'm so glad to have be able to talk with you guys after all these years.
Yeah. After hearing all this and what's going on in Haiti with Cherizier trying to revolutionize and bring up the lumpen proletariat there.
Yeah.
In your view, what is one of the best ways that we in the Imperial Corps can assist the Haitian people in their fight? Because right now, for instance, you have the Palestinians that are dealing with what they're going through, within the state of Israel against, settler colonialism there. I'm still trying to figure out how we can assist the people in places like Congo and Sudan, besides just not, consuming more electronics, portable electronics, but, how we can support them more within the Imperial Corps. And similarly, how can we support the people of Haiti, the proletariat, the grassroots, so that they can continue to fight to actually change their system away from colonialism, away from this neo-colonial type of structure that they are, having over them? How can we do that, in your view?
Well, I think it's very key. I mean, something like Revolutionary Blackout Network has a huge prestige that it can bring to bear on the problem, because what the bourgeoisie in this country figured out back in the 60s was that middle class, that petty bourgeoisie, the people who go to college, who do a little reading, etc., that they were a danger. Because during the Vietnam War, they all came out and they were joining Weather Underground and they were becoming revolutionaries. And you had, Patty Hearst, and you had, and they said, we have to find a way to neutralize this. And what they did was they started to give them money. And in the neo-colonies, what they did was they set up what's called the NGOs, right? The non-governmental organizations, one of the great misnomers of history, because every NGO is in fact a GO. They are a government organization, either US or England or France or, some countries paying their salaries. So the NGOs, then they take this petty bourgeoisie, this intellectuals, and they buy them. But they keep the verbiage, they'll talk a good game, they'll talk about empowerment and, stakeholders and blah, 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 blah. And, so they'll posture well, but they're fundamentally there to neutralize those revolutionary uprisings. And that's why you see a lot of the revolutionary intelligentsia, or what is postures as it, fighting Cherizier. Fighting him, or bad-mouthing him, or denouncing him, and denouncing people defending him, like Haiti Liberté. So if Revolutionary Blackout Network goes in and says, hey, wait, we're looking at this, we don't agree. Like Pereira was great. His piece this week was spot on. He really lays it out. And he dates it back really to the Vietnam War as well, this kind of co-optation of the Caribbean intelligentsia. He's looking mostly at the Caribbean. I'm talking about the U.S. too. Mm-hmm. And what's happened is there's in the revolutionary movement, James. There's of course the Marxist-Leninist current, seize state power and change society. But there's always been, the socialist movement really began with a guy. Some of your listeners, viewers may know this. Robert Owen, and his idea was, we're going to create a little Shangri-La over here. We're going to make a little city, and our example is going to, be an example that all people will adopt. And of course, the Owenite project totally failed, but it lives on. It's kind of the otherworldism. Stop the world, I want to get off. I'm going to, set up another. You saw this with the in Chiapas with the Zapatistas. They tried to create this little world there, and in a way they fought against AMLO back in the day. They were working against AMLO, but fundamentally this current has infected even in this country, in the US. A lot of currents who should know better have kind of left the Leninist idea and gone to this other world thing. And this other world current is very, I could say, susceptible to the NGO co-optation. In Haiti, we have a guy on the Central Plateau called Chavanja Baptiste. He has an outfit called the MPP, the Peasant Movement of Papai. And they built a little, Shangri-La up on the Central Plateau of Haiti. But they're getting money from Madame Mitterrand, or were back in the day, from, French imperialism. So, this is the kind of co-optation which we have to fight. But people watching this Revolutionary Blackout Network by pushing back on this and saying, no, these are not gangs. These are not criminals. These are people trying to liberate themselves. They're not perfect. And as Lenin said, I began a piece with it. He said, there's no such thing as a perfect social revolution. You're always going to find something you can complain about. But this is a social revolution, meaning a revolution, not just like a political revolution like Aristide carried out, where you take over the government. No, social revolution, where the means of production changes hands. The people now own the means of production, the ports, the telecommunications they own. They're running the society.
Wow. Thank you so very much for bringing that out, because a lot of times we talk about the issues within the world, and that's important because we got to know how the world works. We got to know the nuts and bolts in order to be able to take it apart. You know what I mean? And so I appreciate that, because then it's like, we don't just know the why, but now we know the how, and now we know what we can do in order to change things. Because in order to be able to fix the car, you got to know how the car works.
Exactly.
Right. But then it's like, okay, well, now that we know how the car works, now we know, okay, so these are the different tools you have to use to dismantle, to get this piece out, to get that piece out, to change it completely. And you have laid that out so well. And I just want to give my gratitude and appreciation to you, not only for doing this work, but also sharing with us your knowledge and expertise about what's going on in regards to Haiti, because Haiti could be that very little linchpin that all you got to do is pull it out and everything starts crashing down. It kind of feels like that. And it feels like there's something on the horizon where it gives you more hope, So I just want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you, James, and thanks for the work you guys do. It really, you and Sabi have done a lot, I think, in terms of helping educate people.
Thank you so very much. Also, where can they find you, and what do you have coming up soon?
Well, the website you went to, Haiti Liberté, is the principal place we publish, in our YouTube channel, of course, too. We work closely these days on this in terms of putting out films with Dan Cohen at Uncaptured Media. You can check out his site. He's got a team now making these nice quick bite little sort of TikTok videos, which explain in a minute the situation, so people can use those too for sort of educating people. Sometimes it's hard to get the attention span of people to go more than a minute or two. So check that out. But yeah, Haiti Liberté, you can see there's Intervention and Revolution and a number of other videos, but also articles if people want to read back. A lot of the site, most of Haiti Liberté is in French, but we do have an English section, which I edit, called This Week in Haiti. We have Creole as well, as you can see there. Google does, if AI has any redeeming value, it's that it has made translations a little better. But we, encourage people to go and use the Google Translate to translate some of the French articles as well, if we haven't done it in the English section. So, Haiti Liberté is the main place to check, and you'll find all our contact information there. We're glad to speak to anybody and any help we can get. We're like any progressive media, very shoestring, very hand to mouth. It's a real struggle and sacrifice to keep this operation going, but we actually publish a newspaper like you see on the wall each week. Some people say, well, why do you do that? Well, one of these days when they shut down all the social media, you'll know why. We keep it going, so.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Kim Ives. It was so good to see you, and I hope to see you very soon. We can talk about other news stories that's happening on the ground, both geopolitically and as well as domestically too.
Okay, thanks a lot, James. So really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Bye. All right, everybody. So that was Mr. Kim Ives, filmmaker and journalist with Haiti Liberté. That was a great discussion, and I hope you guys were able to watch and be able to absorb some of the information and glean information from him, especially about what's going on. A lot of times Haiti is not a sexy subject. Let's be honest. But it's an important subject. And so this is why it's important for us to hear about what's going on there, so that we know, okay, this is what the oligarchs got their hand in here. And you have to know, it is important to know what your opponent is doing so that you know how to checkmate your opponent. See what I mean? So I think it's important for stories like this. Please make sure, if you have not already, share the article, so that it could push out into the algorithm so we can speak to more people and inform more. And so I want to talk about Haiti more, Sudan. I want to talk more about the Sahel states. There are people who not only at Haiti Liberté, you have Dan Cohen, you have Margaret Kimberly, you have a lot of the people over there at Black Agenda Report that talk about a lot of what's going on in Africa and Haiti as well, within the diaspora. There's so many different people. And so whenever you see somebody talking about what's going on, especially in a lot of African countries and a lot of South American countries, make sure to actually absorb some of that information, because a lot of times what we run into is that the State Department and then the West will try to twist things to make it seem like, well, we're trying to help. We're trying to make things better for them, but their government is corrupt, or they'll make things seem like, it's not our fault. They just have to get themselves together. These Black and brown people just can't seem to get themselves together, So I think that's important for us to focus on that more, to see where it's like, no, they actually can't get themselves together. It's just y'all just keep interfering. So we got to get into that. But with that being said, thank you so very much to everybody. And please make sure to give a like. And I am going to go into the next story in a second. I just want to say hello to people in the chat. And yes, I have been seeing the chat. And yes, I saw the breaking news. I will talk about it just for a brief second, but I know Nick is going to be going live this evening, and it's going to be a fire episode, and I'm going to join. I'm joining. I was going to do a reading, but I may have to just pre-record that reading and have it come out another day. But this is big news. So, but before I get into that, just wanted to give a shout to patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this type of work. We are trying to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. We are doing things on the ground. Just to let you guys know, on Sunday, August 4th, we in the Orlando chapter of RBN will be doing on the ground work. So, in fact, while I'm at it, I haven't got a graphic made up yet, but I want to make sure that I get this done so that if you guys want to, if you guys would like to donate to help us raise money for gift cards, food gift cards, then you guys can do that. I think that's it. Yep. So if you guys would like to, thank you so very much to all of the patrons on Patreon for you guys keep the lights on. Let me share this really quick. We're going to be raising money for in our goal. I would like to say the goal is $1,500. We already have the money raised for the next action. This is for further actions as well. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to Cash App. It's $Orlando RBN. I will put the link in the chat and I will get a graphic made as soon as I can so that we can do that as well, so that we can help more people on the ground, build mutual aid systems as well. So we'll get that going there. So thank you so very much to everybody for that. Now, let's go to the chat. I know I got some things to say regarding this, as well as the breaking news that just came out. Today's going to be a big news day. Wait, is Savvy still on vacation? She's still on vacation. If she's still on vacation, that means she ain't gonna be able to talk about this till Tuesday. Oh man, she would have loved to go live tonight too. Oh man, sorry, Sabs. All right, we have Chocolate Diet coming in saying, Kim Ives, wow, I'm excited. Kim Ives has done some of the most important journalism in the past decade. Of course, that relegates him to obscurity in the United States. Can we make journalists like Kim Ives, like Aaron Mate, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. She's also a really great journalist. Well, Caitlin Johnstone and many other different journalists, that are independent. Can we make them cool again? Dan Cohen, can we make him cool again? Abby Martin, can we make her cool again? Come on. I think that's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're actually speaking the truth out there. So let's make the independent journalists cool again. All right. Hen Steve says, I got an ad on my screen telling me to click here to block all. That's interesting. Funny. We have CBC voter saying, happy Sunday, everyone. Good to see a CBC voter. Terry Connolly coming in saying, greetings, JB and comrades. Good to see you. Amlacar says, fight, fight, fight. Yes, yes, yes. Randy Bray says, hello, JB. Good to see you. We have WV Marks 1 says, greetings, comrades. Good to see you in the Rockfin. I'm sorry, in the Rumble. I'll get to the Rockfin in a second. And Matt John says, hi, Rad fam. And also Solidarity Palestine. Good to see you, Matt. Wardy coming in saying, hey, everybody. All right. We have Blackman John says, phone app effing up. Ooh, that's not good. I hope you get that squared away, Blackman John. Ant Farm Dairy says, just tap Hillary's Haiti fund. I meant to talk about that, about how the Red Cross raised over $500 million and they only built 6 homes. I forgot to ask him about that. Lord and Lord, see how time passes by when you're having fun. But the Red Cross also, stop giving money to the Red Cross. They don't do nothing for nobody. These NGOs, right? Travelers Wolf says, hello, good to see you, Travelers Wolf. What you eating over there, Travelers Wolf? Nice to have you. Savvy Bites says, Ayi Bobo, I taught Haitian dance for 12. Oh, nice. Okay, I see you, Savvy Bites. All right. Teaching people how to move, how to groove. Yeah, okay. All right. So let's go to Not Your Mama, says JB looking posh AF. Thank you so much. Saldivar says Yemen too. Mm-hmm. Traverse Wolf. Now, why you gotta do me like that? Did JB just return from a parole hearing? Why gotta be parole? Maybe I just came back from a wedding. Come on now. Rome. Breaking news. Biden is out. I had a feeling that it would be before the convention, but I didn't think it would be this early before the convention. This is hilarious. This is funny news. Funny. Oh, look, Rome, you, me, and Nick need to be on for this one later this evening. We're going to laugh. We're going to laugh. Okay. We're going to have and Nick comes in. Breaking news live tonight. Yep. Be sure. Nick, also put in the chat, when are you planning to go live tonight? Let me know so I can be prepared, okay? Put that in the chat. And then Nick said Joe Biden got regime changed. Yes. Oh my God. Let the jokes commence. This will be a very fun stream. I may even have a drink before, and who knows? Well, you know what I'm saying. Roger Meadow says, I was just informed by a friend of Biden's. Everybody's telling me right now. Let me share it. I got it already ready, just set to go. Okay, all right. Let's read the letter. I'm gonna read the first paragraph. I'm not gonna read the rest. I'm gonna let Nick read the rest later tonight. Okay. All right. So it says from Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. It says, my fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. See how he's already trying to bullshit y'all. Today, America is the strongest economy in the world. We made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. Notice he didn't say all. We provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. Yet the VA is on a hiring freeze and they are overworking their doctors. They don't tell you that either. Passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, despite a former president nearly being shot and killed. Appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court who stands with corporations. I'm sorry, I'm adding my commentary. Deal with it. And passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world, except for the Willow Project that continues to drill in indigenous lands. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. Even though there are other countries that are leaving the petrodollar and making the dollar weaker, as we can see on the world stage, aka BRICS. So I'm not going to read the rest. I'm going to leave that to the stream tonight, okay? But it's hilarious. He's trying to prime things up. Oh, Lord. This is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Boy. Let me see. Hang on. No, Jaybe, let's cover this in 30 minutes. Look, let me do my other two segments. You can jump on this stream if you want, or we can make a whole new stream. I don't care whichever one you want to do, but we can make it happen, bro. Because look, I got the turkey wings on the slow cooker. We good. We good, bro. Thank God I put the turkey wings on the slow cooker. Okay, 30 minutes. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get through these two stories, and I'm going to make sure that I do it within 30 minutes so that Nick can come in, and then I'll join him for the next stream, okay? So just to let you guys know. So let me go to the Rockfin just to check. There's anybody in there? We're good. Let's go to our next story that I want to cover. So, yeah, so Zoya's saying new stream in 30 minutes. All right, so once the stream is over, jump over to the next stream, and then we'll cover the breaking news, okay? All right, perfect. Thank you very much for that, Zoya. All right, now, next story we're going to cover, I want to cover this. We're going to talk about an 8-year-old's murder covered up. Whenever things like this happen, sometimes you'll have people that go, well, why do you talk about this? Aren't you guys talking about geopolitics? Aren't you guys talking about domestic policy? And this is related to it. And I am tired of seeing young people that look like me that are murdered and killed in the streets. There was a young man that was murdered. Let me see. Why is NBC News not letting me? Okay. I'll get to that in a second. There was a young man that was murdered. And the people that murdered him were kids. And so hang on. Okay. So one of the things that I want to get into is this particular story. Let me get my notes here. I'm sorry, just 1 second. Yeah. So let me share this really quick with you guys. And I would like to go over the details in a second. So we're going to go over this really quick. All right. So here is the story.
New information coming in about the death of an 8-year-old boy who that now has been ruled a homicide, and 2 juveniles now charged in the case just had their first appearance in court. All of this comes nearly 2 months after investigators found 8-year-old Noah Bush's body not far from his home near Jessup, hours after he went missing. The WTOC team has been tackling this news all day long as the district attorney made the announcement, followed by the juvenile detention hearing. Lindsay Singer joining us now in the WTOC newsroom. Lindsay, we'll never forget the family saying from day one that they thought that there was no way their son would go into that water willingly.
Yeah, exactly. And to the family, there were always questions in the days following Noah's death. Too many stories just didn't add up to what they knew about their son. And because of the push and the gut feeling, now they're one step closer to getting justice for Noah.
This whole entire tragedy has been tough.
It's been 55 days of agony.
I just want to say thank you so much to the community. If it weren't for you standing by my side, helping me to continue on to push for justice, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we have.
And 55 days of the Wayne County community pleading for answers. A homicide ruling in the death that took 8-year-old Noah Bush, a ruling that the family says they knew from the very beginning.
The story they were told 55 days ago was that their son accidentally drowned. They knew that that was not true then. Today, we confirm the same.
An 11-year-old and a 10-year-old will now face charges in the death of Noah Bush. At a juvenile detention hearing in Jessup only hours after the district attorney announced the homicide ruling, the 2 children were charged with juvenile detention court with bonds set for $10,000 and $5,000. The names of the juveniles have not been released, and according to the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, Georgia state law does not allow names of juveniles to be released. In the initial report, the sheriff's office did say that there was no foul play suspected, but however, they were waiting on an autopsy. Wayne County Sheriff's Office sent WTOC this morning. They stated that they received the autopsy report on July 8th, and that confirmed the absence of an injury for his body consistent with a fight or use of a weapon. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death as drowning. According to the family lawyer, Noah walked away with 2 boys he knew, and they believe that that turned into an argument that ended in tragedy.
He walked away with people he thought were friends and trustworthy.
The Wayne County Sheriff's Office says that they are still investigating if any adults had knowledge or involvement, and say if they do find a reason to believe that, it will not take 55 days to make an arrest.
So Noah Bush was essentially murdered by a 10 and 11-year-old. An 8-year-old was murdered. And a lot of people may say, well, this is kind of an open and shut. Now that we know who murdered him, that he was actually murdered by these two juveniles, that's done, right? I have my questions because it feels like it was still covered up. Now, I want to get into this article here. It says, family of boy who drowned in borrow pit calls for more arrests after 10 and 11-year-old are charged weeks later. It says Noah Bush's family was told he was accidentally drowned. Nearly 2 months later, officials ruled it a homicide. Now, the officials told him that he accidentally drowned. Really? Let's go into this. It says it took 55 days to confirm, but Noah Bush's family had known for weeks his death was not an accident, as authorities had initially insisted. Now the family of the 8-year-old Georgia boy who drowned in a construction pit in May is calling for more arrests and a deeper investigation into the child's death, which has been ruled a homicide. The two boys, ages 10 and 11, have been arrested and charged in Noah's death, but attorney for the family, Francis Johnson, said that the Bushes are calling for the arrest of any adults who may have had a role in covering up the boys' actions, and criticized a sheriff's department for weeks said Noah's death was an accident. So essentially, from what you could see here, it was he died by accident. That's it. Right? But now they're saying that it was actually intentional that this little boy was killed. And the family had a feeling, and now it's confirmed, but the police kept telling them it was an accident. It was an accident? Look, I'm going to tell you right now. Let a married white woman call the police and she has bruises all over her. What's the first thing that they're going to do as soon as they see those bruises on that woman? They're going to, well, sir, we have to detain you just in case. That's just proper protocol. You have a dead 8-year-old that died from drowning, and you mean to tell me that you didn't at least detain these boys to question them with their parents present? You didn't do that? You didn't think to actually detain the boys, question the parents to get the real truth about what happened to this little boy? $55 days? That's 2.5 months? Almost 3 months. Says Noah was found dead on May 16th, a day after he was reported missing, in a borrow pit filled with water near his home in Jessup, Georgia. Law enforcement in Johnson have said a borrow pit is an area where material like dirt or soil has been dug out for use at another site. He was last seen hanging with a 10-year-old whom he had known for a few months and considered a friend, and an 11-year-old he had met that day. At some point, they pressured Noah to go down to the borrow pit, Johnson, who has met with the district attorney who viewed the evidence. It is a deep canyon-like place, and in the low places, water fills up in it, like a swimming pool sizes of water. He said the area was in total disrepair, with fences and gates broken down, allowing access to people. Johnson said the argument ensued between the boys, and he was pushed into the water by the older juvenile, the 11-year-old. The sheriff's department said that at the time that his death was considered an accident, that no foul play was involved, but family members disputing that finding argued that Noah was afraid of water and would not have gone near it. Hundreds of people protested the department's findings in days after Noah's death. Another thing I want to bring out to people, Black people. Teach your children how to swim. Please. If you are Black, especially, actually any parent, anybody, Teach your kid how to swim. But Black people especially if we're not near any sources of water, like a beach, like big lakes, things like that. If you're not near those, please try to get a way to teach your kids how to swim. I know sometimes it's difficult. I know it costs money, but it's better to give them that life-saving skill than to not. Please teach your kids how to swim. I learned how to swim when I was 8 years old, and a 9-year-old boy taught me how to swim. Thanks, Ivory. I was taught how to swim by another 9-year-old boy. And so please, if you can, make sure your kids know how to swim. Basic swimming. They don't have to be Michael Phelps. They just need to know how to float and keep their head above water. Please. Let's continue. Now it says that the mother always believed that there was more to this. That's little Noah right there. Noah Bush. Now, here is the point that I would like to point out. It says the sheriff's office reversed course nearly 2 months after the boy was found dead, saying that this new release that Noah's death had been ruled a homicide after it had been discovered during the investigation that one of the boys pushed him into the deep portion of the burrow pit that they were waiting in. The Wayne County Coroner's Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Says the sheriff's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the Johnsons' allegations. Says now the 2 boys were arrested. Said the 11-year-old has been charged with involuntary manslaughter, simple battery, concealing the death of another, and criminal trespass, while the 10-year-old was charged with concealing the death of another and criminal trespass. Of course, the boys are not going to be publicly named because they are under the age of 18. They're juveniles. One of the things that I want to bring out is let me see. It says Noah's family didn't come from any great means, but neither are people who are accused of this manslaughter. Noah's mother believes the sheriff's office almost overlooked her son's death as a homicide and criticized the sheriff's office handling in the investigation. Quote, it is her belief that ultimately her child did not matter to them. A little Black boy dies. Of course, his life does not matter. Noah was Black. Johnson said the 2 boys who arrested were white. The sheriff's department did not respond to the questions from NBC News about the family's allegations. It says there may be others who are involved in concealing the actions of the 10-year and 11-year-old, and everyone who was involved in that, who was party to those crimes, should be held to account. But he said the family is grateful to the local district attorney for ultimately determining that the 2 boys and one of their mothers should face charges. The Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney said that it does not comment on ongoing prosecutions. So let me go into this as well, because what the family had to get into in order to find all this out will piss you off. Now, let me go into this, because I think this is also really important as well. So let's go.
That breaking news coverage out of Wayne County. Family lawyers of Noah Bush announcing today his death has been ruled a homicide. Let's get straight over to WTOC's Simone McKenney, who joins us in the newsroom. And Simone, you were listening in on that news conference that happened just a few hours ago.
That's right, Madeline. The news conference started with lawyers in the family of Noah Bush emphasizing that after 55 days of calls for further investigation, protests from the community members near and far, they were told something they already knew. The death of 8-year-old Noah Bush is being ruled a homicide.
So one of the things I wanted to share was this particular tweet, because it actually gives more more details as to what happened, like what the family actually had to do in order to get this ruled a homicide. So it says breaking 2 racist white supremacist boys aged 10 and 11 and their mother drowned and killed an 8-year-old black boy. Says the police department tried to cover this murder up by intentionally reporting the 8-year-old Noah Bush simply wandered into a construction pit and drowned. This is the police protecting this racist family from prosecuting for lynching 8-year-old Noah Bush. Here's the facts. All right, so Noah Bush's family was not willing to leave it to that and hired a private investigator to look deeper into the case. It was initially reported that was no foul play in Bush's lynching after autopsy. The racist police changed their tune after new information they discovered during their investigation. But in a new twist of the case, the mother, Natalie Hardison, one of the boys, has now been charged. Natalie Hardison was arrested on 3 charges, including probation violation and making false statements. It says, okay. So the thing is that the family actually had to hire private investigators in order to figure this out. My thing is that there should not have been private investigators to figure this out. The police should have been able to determine that. But the police were willing to just wave it away as it was an accidental drowning. And the parents were like, no, I don't believe that. And so the fact is that if the family had to hire private investigators, there's a cover-up. And this goes into why I say, what are police for? This is why we talk about defunding the police on the road to abolition, because the thing is that not that don't they prevent crime, but they're also preventing crime, charges from being filed against, boys who committed a murder. Now, do I feel like these boys made a huge mistake? Possibly. But also, their parenting and their upbringing also plays a big role into this. This is why I'm appreciative of people like Nick and Zoya for creating websites like 10 for Justice. That actually talk about, the ways in which, hang on. Is it working? Is the site down? Hang on. Maybe I'm typing it in wrong. Yeah, that's the site. Interesting. Sorry, guys. This is one of the reasons why I think we need to start defunding the police on the road to abolition, because it is absolutely important to actually use our funding dollars to actually give us better public safety. Ultimately. Because if the police aren't going to actually do what's right in regards to people like Noah Bush, what's the use of them? That's the point. And so we need to keep our minds, on how not only maintaining our own public safety, but how we can create new public safety institutions that actually serve all the people, not just private capital. Noah Bush was only 8 years old, and this should have never happened. So go ahead and give the video a like, push this out in the algorithm. Thank you so very much. But yeah. Let's go to the chat. Hen's Teeth says, I grew up in South Louisiana. We had clay burrow pits. Lots of kids drown in them because you can't climb out of them. Man. Susan says, best swimming places, but dangerous. Ours was called the pits. It got turned into a landfill. Yes. Learn how to swim. Yes. Please teach your kids how to swim. In fact, I got a great nephew. We got to teach him how to swim because he's going on 2 years old. I want him to know how to swim like now. ZMCG says the saddest thing is when an adult fit man knows MMA defeated by a pool. What's that about? Luke Carlos says South Florida must learn to swim. Yeah. Ashura said, why didn't the other boys save him if they saw he couldn't swim? Good question. Yeah. Luke Carlos says, I wonder if they pushed him knowing he was scared. I almost drowned once. I remember I was 6 years old. Yeah, I was 6 years old, and we were at the pool at a friend's house, and this teenager could have been no more than 13 years old. We were at the pool. I didn't know how to swim, and he jumped on my shoulders and started riding me on my shoulders at 6 years old. So you got a 13-year-old with his legs on the shoulders of a 6-year-old. And I kept trying to come up for air, and he kept bouncing up and down on top of my shoulders. And I almost drowned. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it may not always be just because, that they didn't know how to swim. It could also be nefarious things too. Because some reports are saying that the kid's head was held underwater. But I don't know if that's true. But things like this shouldn't have happened. And ultimately, you also got to remember how you raise your kids matters. Let me see. All right. So Mouse says, I have almost drowned twice, once kayaking in Atlantic and once swimming in Caribbean. Yeah. So, yes, please teach your kids how to swim, but also teach your kids to not be dicks. Because it could lead to somebody actually dying. Gosh. And then on top of that, the police covering it up, defund their ass. I mean, gosh. All right, so let's get to the next story. I'm going to have to make this one fast. But we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend with Microsoft. This was a story. For anybody that is in, tech, they know about the blue screen of death. Well, this blue screen of death went all over the world. It went like the artist Pitbull worldwide. Let's get into this. This was a crazy one. Let me share my screen really quick. Computer outages. All right.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Hoda Kotb.
Good morning. Good to see you. You are coming on the air right now with breaking news. A massive global technical outage tied to Crowdstrike, which is a major cybersecurity provider, has knocked critical computer infrastructure offline all across the country and, in fact, all around the world. It's an issue with a software update. It's impacting lots and lots of Microsoft computer systems worldwide, from businesses to emergency services, 911, traffic lights, transit systems, and it's having a major impact on airlines as well. American, Delta, United, they're all keeping their flights grounded. You're looking at some live scenes from the airport. It is chaos again, 6 a.m. on the East Coast, and this is the scene now. They're having difficulty even printing any kind of boarding passes. This, of course, is a developing situation. The full scope of this problem remains to be seen. And Brian, as we get started right here in Studio 1A, we should point out computers at NBC News right here as we're getting on the air. We're trying to do some workarounds here to get on the air, but this is something that's affecting people worldwide.
Yeah, and other newsrooms, our partners over at Sky News, having issues as well. I mean, this is impacting all different types of businesses. When you talk about airlines, you also talk about, just 911 services, in some cases reporting outages as well. And you're even hearing of anecdotes of banks in other countries experiencing that. We don't yet have reporting of banks in the United States being impacted by this, but this appears to be not just in the United States, worldwide, and across different types of industries.
This definitely speaks to what I feel like is the fragility of the situation. Right. It's like this is not a cyber attack. This is a computer kind of snafu that happened.
Yeah, and just to kind of walk you through exactly what's going on here. So this appears to be an issue between CrowdStrike and Microsoft. So CrowdStrike, for those that aren't familiar, is a cybersecurity firm that basically provides businesses with a way to foolproof their systems from being hacked. Now, apparently what happened was that CrowdStrike was working on some sort of update. We just heard from the CEO in the last few minutes describing this as not a security incident or cyber attacks. I don't repeat that again. It doesn't appear to be a cyber attack at issue here. But the reason why CrowdStrike is so instrumental to not just businesses here in the United States, but around the world, is because any sort of business that hires CrowdStrike to basically foolproof their systems, well, they're going to be incorporating that into their computers. So if they get that, it's being plugged into Microsoft computers. If there's an issue with CrowdStrike, it takes down all of those Microsoft computers that are related to that. The company's saying Mac and Linux computers are not impacted, but again, this is very widespread.
Interesting, because I think what happened was a lot of people, this was happening in Australia, Europe, while we were all sleeping. We woke up and we were like, what's going on? But what people are finding is they're getting on their computers or at the bank or at the airline, and they're seeing just a blue screen. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, the term for this is called the blue screen of death. And I don't know if we have examples that we can show on the screen right now, but we've been seeing it even in our newsrooms this morning. So it's basically this blue screen that has this prompt that says, you're having issues, and they're basically trying to figure out a workaround, but that essentially bricks your computer. You are unable to log in. Now, that's scary for any person that's just trying to log into their personal computer, although it's not clear if your personal computer has CrowdStrike. If it doesn't have that plugin or have that cybersecurity layer, you likely won't be affected because of the nature of what we understand this issue to be. But for all these enterprise companies, which is translation for corporate customers that use this protection, well, that's a major issue. If you can't log in, you can't print out the boarding passes to get people on their planes. You can't, as a bank teller, even get fired up to help open up someone's deposit account. This is a major issue. CrowdStrike says that they have an issue. They identified the issue, they isolated it, and there's a fix that has been deployed. How long that fix takes to basically patch over all this, we don't know.
Now, just to let you guys know, I get public transportation to get to and from dialysis. My public transportation was actually down because they also use Crowdstrike too. So fortunately, they use paper manifests, so they can also still get to their clients that they need to pick up to get to and from dialysis. So fortunately, I was able to get to and from dialysis, though I did have a medical snafu that day. But fortunately, I was able to get, my dialysis in. But it even affected me, right? This is something that happened all over the world. So I want to go into this. Let's go to this article that I want to go into from Wired. And then there's more about CrowdStrike that a lot of people just do not really know, but it also has to deal with politics. So let's get into this first. So this happened. It says huge Microsoft outage caused by CrowdStrike takes down computers around the world. So it says a software update from cybersecurity company CrowdStrike inadvertently disrupted IT systems globally, taking down Windows machines offline. It says, so banks, airports, TV stations, healthcare organizations, hotels, and countless other businesses are all facing widespread IT outages, leaving flights grounded and causing widespread disruption. So essentially, everybody was messed up. It says in the early hours of Friday, companies in Australia running Microsoft's Windows operating system started reporting devices showing the blue screens of death. Shortly after, reports of disruptions started flooding from around the world, including from UK, India, Germany, the Netherlands, and the United States. TV station Sky News went offline. Now, I don't know if that's actually a bad thing. Well, it's corporate news. And it says, and U.S. airlines, United, Delta, and American Airlines issued a global ground stop on all flights. So this even affected hospitals. It affected, banks where you may need to get your money. And the only ones that weren't affected were Macs and Linux hosts were not impacted during the update. So I want to share as well that CrowdStrike has a lot of companies underneath them. And so I also want to bring this up too. It says within healthcare and emergency services, various medical providers around the world have reported issues with their Windows linked systems, sharing news on social media on their own websites. It says U.S. Emergency Alert System, which issues hurricane warnings, said that there have been various 911 outages in a number of states. In Portland, Mayor Ted Wheeler declared a city emergency as a result of some of the outages, although also said many systems were being restored. The White House official says President Joe Biden has been briefed on the CrowdStrike outages and his team is monitoring the situation. It says Germany's University Hospital Schleswig-Holstein said it was canceling some non-urgent surgeries at 2 locations and is not real. More than a dozen hospitals have been impacted, as well as pharmacies, with reports saying ambulances have been rerouted to unimpacted medical organizations. It says in the UK, the NHS, England has confirmed that general practitioner appointments and patient record systems have been affected by the outages. One hospital declared a critical incident after a third-party IT system used was impacted. So that is essentially the whole world was messed up because of one company messing up. So I want to share this as well, because I want to share what actually happened in a more layman's term, and also who wasn't affected is also just as interesting. So let me go here. Yes. This is what I want to go to. All right. This one's kind of funny, but it's funny but serious. All right. So this is titled "Some Bad Code Just Broke a Billion Windows Machines." So let's get into this.
If you woke up today, you should probably just go back to sleep because your Windows work computer will likely have a blue screen of death. Today, millions, if not billions, of Windows computers got insta-bricked around the world thanks to an update pushed by enterprise cybersecurity firm Crowdstrike. And it's bad. Airports are shutting down, hospitals are unable to treat patients, banks aren't able to get your money, and the Arby's drive-thru window went down, forcing people to hunt stray cats in the street just for food. What's hilarious, though, is that a top cybersecurity firm just messed up the global economy in a way that the evil hackers they protect you from could only dream of. In today's video, we'll take a look at the technical side of this disaster and find out how such a catastrophic mistake like this can even happen in the modern world. It is July 19th, 2024, and you're watching The Code Report. Corporate America is in panic mode right now because everybody's work computers are bricked, and that means the hamsters can't keep spinning the wheels. A huge number of Fortune 500 companies use CrowdStrike for cybersecurity. It's got over 500 clients on the Fortune 1000 list. Its primary product is called Falcon, a tool that provides endpoint protection using artificial intelligence and analytics to detect threats in real time. It is publicly traded and its stock is down right now, and for good reason, because everybody's blaming them for causing Windows to deliver its blue screen of death. Luckily, Mac OS users and Linux chavs are unaffected. To understand why, we first need to understand how CloudStrike's Falcon sensor actually works. It's installed just like regular software, but integrates with the operating system at a low level, often using kernel mode drivers, and basically just sits there in the background looking for anomalies. It collects telemetry data, produces reports, and offers a bunch of other incomprehensible techno-nonsense products to justify multi-million-dollar enterprise contracts. But the bottom line is that it's third-party software that sits in the critical path of a computer, which means if it fails, the entire computer might fail. And that's exactly what happened here. Apparently, an automated software update last night had some bad code in it, and every computer that got that update is now dead. Now, part of the reason this is really bad,
Oh my God, is this bad?
is that it's not just a regular outage, but every affected computer needs to be rebooted in fail mode, so the driver can be removed manually. And most employees don't have access to do that on their own, and that means IT guys are going to be really busy today. It's the IT guy equivalent of being a surgeon in World War I. And the consequences are real. The London Stock Exchange was disrupted, most Indian airports went down, causing them to write boarding passes by hand, along with a ton of other issues. To CloudStrike's credit, they were quick to point out that it's not a security incident or cyber attack, and explained it this way.
Yeah, listen. We fucked up.
But they were quick to fix it, and the fix is really easy. All you have to do is detach the operating system disk, create a snapshot or backup of the disk, mount a volume to a new virtual server, navigate to the WinDir drivers directory, locate the file C0000291.sys and delete it, detach the volume from the new virtual server, then reattach the fixed volume to the impacted virtual server. Piece of cake, but option 2 is to go to Home Depot and buy a sledgehammer, then use it to uninstall Microsoft Windows and switch to Linux. I do feel really bad for the programmer who updated this driver though, because the tech lead's about to run Get Blame and blame them for this whole mess. Not only is this person about to get fired, but they also have blood on their hands for shutting down the hospitals, transportation networks, and Arby's family restaurants that we need to survive. If you're that guy...
Hang on, let me say this. Why is it all under one company? Y'all know where I'm going with this. Why are we enlisting our cybersecurity to most of our cybersecurity to one company? See, this is why when people talk about capitalism breeds innovation, that's why I laugh at them, because I'm like, so much innovation, and yet one company made a mistake and it brought down nearly the entire Western world. Not too bright, though. Let's finish this.
and you're watching this, don't feel too bad though. What we have here is a situation where the cure is more harmful than the disease. Public megacorporations are under a ton of pressure to secure their computer systems, and they're constantly audited by third parties. A company like Macy's isn't going to go out and hire a team of 100 cybersecurity weirdos. Instead, they'll pay a company like Crowdstrike a few $1 million a year to figure out cybersecurity for them, giving them someone else to blame when their system gets hacked. What everyone failed to realize, though, is that giving one company kernel access to the computers of most Fortune 500 companies might actually be a bad idea, because it only takes one automatic update with a misplaced zero to nearly destroy the entire world. This has been the Code Report. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to put all that power into one company like that. I agree. And if you guys have not been up to date on who CrowdStrike is, they're involved in some political scandal too. I want to share this as well because I think it's important. Aaron Mate actually chimed in on this. And CrowdStrike is tied to the Clintons. Says Aaron Mate said CrowdStrike is in the cyber firm that generated the claim that Russia hacked the DNC, setting off Russiagate, even though CrowdStrike was working for the Clinton campaign. The FBI relied on it rather than independently investigate the hacked DNC servers. This is what happens when you outsource what something should be done by the public sector to the private sector. That's what happens. And now you get things like this. All right. Let's continue. It says it only emerged 4 years later that CrowdStrike had no evidence of Russian hacking. The Clinton campaign, CrowdStrike, and Mueller had all concealed this. They even gave false statements to Congress about it. Since then, CrowdStrike has grown to such a powerful force that it today was responsible for global outage that it disrupted air travel and banking. So there is a article about it from Aaron Mate, and I'll put that in the chat. Due to the sake of time, I can't really go over it too more. So, and just to let you guys know, there was a couple of places that actually were not affected. It was reported by Fiorella Isabel that it was not affecting Russia because, you know, the West, especially the United States, they want to isolate Russia. Well, Russia got off scot-free. And then on top of that, China also got away scot-free. So guess what? They weren't affected by this. Wonder why? So when it comes to these big corporations, I think it's important that we need to wrestle them out of the hands of these corporate dictators. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's important that we, you know, stop these companies. And then also, if you look at here, some of the biggest owners are BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. So that tells you who they're owned by. So yeah, they're the reason why things went to shit. So with that being said, I'm going to head on out because I know Nick is live now and I'm going to go over there. But I just wanted to make sure I get to the super chats before I go. Penny says Zoya was right there, right? JVP, their campaign for Ilhan and Dems. Okay, thank you so very much for that. There was another one. Roger Meadows says, please watch miniseries Doc Valley of the Boom. All right, so we got that. And just making sure, okay, we also have a tip on Rockfin. Sorry, Nick, I know that you want to go live. I got this going on right here. I just want to make sure I get this going too. All right. And then Roger Mill says government lost all leverage when it comes to earning the public trust to move towards digital currency. Also provides momentum for the paper ballot movement when it comes to voting. Agreed. Definitely. Thank you so very much for that. All right, everybody. So be sure to stay on this channel. Go over to Nick. I'll be going over there to talk about this breaking news story because this is going to be very interesting. But thank you so very much to everybody. I will see you guys in the next one. Yes. And thank you so very much for Kim Ives for coming on to talk about Haiti. It was a great one. All right, everybody. Deuces, Bruces. Love you. Mwah, forehead kisses until I see you in a few minutes. Bye.